guys, we're gonna have today a small tutorial about how to use transparent images in HTML and what are the best way to compress them and to save a lot of space while retaining quality, but not only in the image but in the transparency, because there's always a trade-off. We're starting with this image, and all the images and programs used here, of course, are copyrighted to their respective owners. I'm gonna give the links for those. But now we're starting with an image which, as you can see here, is almost 900 by 900 pixels. And the image that we're starting with is a transparent PNG that you can see here, and it's almost 600 kilobytes, which is not that much in today's standards, but if you have like 50 of those on a web page and you want to transmit that web page on 3G on a phone, then that can be a bit too much. Well, in Photoshop you have a few options of saving the transparency and the image at the same time. So we go here where it says Save for Web, and you can save it as a PNG24, which means you have 3 channels for red, green, and blue, and 1 channel for transparency. What it means is that you got 1 full channel for transparency. It means here where you got the hairs, and you have pixels which go from 0 to 100 opacity, but they go through all the stages, so they're not sharp pixels. They're pixels which can be half transparent or quarter transparent, of all 256 levels actually of transparency. This is a very high quality image and can be resaved over and over again without losing quality, but the problem is that it's huge. Well, especially this kind of rich images like faces or flowers or landscapes. If you save those as PNG24, you're going to notice they're really, really big images. And here in Photoshop, I'm using a approximation from 1 megabits per second, which is the average speed of 3G in big cities. So this image will take about 7 seconds to download, which is a lot if I have more than one image like that on a web page. So PNG24 is a very good quality image, but it's a big image. You have the option to save it a PNG8 or a GIF file, which if it's not animated, so you don't have an animated GIF, then PNG8 and GIF are exactly the same as quality and compression. But as you can see here, either we're using the matte and we're getting black instead of this really nice transparent part, or if we don't use any matte, then we're getting this kind of edge in which instead of having the proper transparency, we're getting either transparent pixels or non-transparent pixels. And of course, all the image is created with this pixel. So I can have no jitter, I can have noise jitter, which is a bit softer. And if I put just 16 images, you're gonna see it in action. In 256 images, the same thing, but just because there are many colors, sorry, not images, colors, then you're not noticing this pattern, but it actually exists. And if it's no jitter, it looks like that, really sharp, and it's not something you want. And you got some other options here, like pattern, which pattern I think it's one of the most awful ones, and noise, which is the most bland one, and the more you ramp up the colors, the better it gets. So 128 is decent, 256 is even better. You can almost not see the differences, but in really soft colors like here or here, you can obviously see the pixels. So this image, which went from 584 kilos, now it's down to 236, which is almost a half, but you're losing a lot of this texture quality especially the transparency on the hair. So it's not a very good deal. Of course, you can use something like white matte, and here you can see the edge is blended with white. So if your web page has just a white background, which is a solid color, white or whatever color you want to use, then this might work for you, but it's a very particular case. And as you can see, for it gets everything in white, and the white pixels are either transparent or fully opaque, and then it overlays the image on top of those pixels to make it to keep the kind of this kind of transparency appearance, but it's not transparent at all. So if your page is opaque, it may work. It's a bit smaller. It's 249 kilos now. Well, that's not great either, because it's very limited. It limits you a lot in the use of the image. Okay, so if you try GIF, it's almost the same. Yeah, it's just almost the same size. Let's start a bit to look also about the embedding of the image. So this is the simplest HTML you can have. It's just an HTML with a source, and we're using this big image that you saw in Photoshop, this 600 kilo image, which looks like this, just an image on a background. Well, if you want to compress it more, you can use JPEG compression, but the problem with JPEG is, of course, it's not transparent. So if I'm gonna save it for web and devices as a JPEG, I'm gonna use a matte which resembles the hair color. I'm gonna use quality 40 for this one. It doesn't have to be really sharp. I get a bit of artifacts, especially in these really busy areas like here or on the edges, but I think for an image that size is acceptable, and it gets from 500 kilos down to 30 kilos. But of course I don't have the transparency for it. I'm gonna save this anyway. I'm gonna call it Nathan Drake underline color, because this is the color image of it, and then I'm gonna create an image which is just the transparency of it. That image, it's not like in Photoshop when you create transparency from black and white, black and white mask, but you're creating it from opaque and transparent in a PNG 24. What I mean by that is that for this image to create the transparency mask, I'm just going to overlay it with some color, like that, color overlay, and make it black. I'm making it black because when I'm going to save it and I'm going to have a preview or a thumbnail of the image, is the easiest shape to spot against the white background. There's no reason I'm choosing black in particular. You can use any other color, but it's the biggest contrast that you can see between this part and this part. Also, it doesn't matter because the opacity is saved in the color, so it doesn't matter if you choose any other thing, and it's not a bigger or a worse quality of transparency. It's just that I'm trying to delete all the color information, so my PNG 24, which I'm gonna save from this, is gonna be as small as possible. So I'm gonna save it for web and devices as a PNG 24, which means I'm gonna get all the beautiful transparency edges. As you can see, it looks exactly identical. And I'm gonna save it as the same size as it is, and I'm gonna call this one Nathan Drake mask. I'm gonna go here in a preview. I'm gonna get the color, which as you can see is all black. The background is all black, and this is the mask, which is transparent. So in HTML there is a way of combining those two. So I'm having here the Nathan color JPEG as the source of the image, and then I'm using the style with webkit-mask-box-image then I'm giving it the URL of the mask. And then there are some numbers which define how that image tiles or gets positioned relative to the image. But if you leave those 0, they all fall exactly on the same spot and orientation and tiling and everything else. And you can scale that image as well. You can make this width height 100% or 50% or I don't know, spin it around or whatever you want to do with it as an image. The mask will follow it. And combining these two, the end result is this. So this is the original PNG24, and this is the new image. I'm gonna reload. And as you can see, it's very, very close. You get the same bit of artifacts here of JPEG, but this is all transparent background. The source of this image, as you saw here, is all black. So if I'm not using the mask, so I'm just gonna delete some of it. So I broke that URL, and I'm gonna reload it. Sorry, I have to delete the style completely actually. All right, so this is the URL of, this is the image with the JPEG as a URL, and with the mask becomes like this. Well, the advantage, the huge advantage of this is that the image, the JPEG image is just 31 kilos and the mask is 59 kilos. And you can save the mask even at a lower resolution. You can save it half a resolution if you want, and it's still gonna stretch the size of the image. So here, if I save it as 50%, goes down to 19 kilos. Okay. And here, when I reload it, you can see that the hair becomes a bit fuzzier because, of course, this is half a resolution. But if you don't really care about that, if it's just a gradient or something you're not particularly fond of getting it full resolution, the size is really small. So these two together are 51 kilo compared to the original, which was 581 kilos. That's 11 times smaller. And when I had the original resolution for the mask, that's 59 kilo, those together are now 90 kilos, and this one is 581, of course, the original. And the end result is that these two together are 6 times smaller than the original, and you're using JPEG compression and perfect PNG transparency. So you're getting both of the good of both worlds in one image, which, as you can see here, it looks almost identical to the original, but you're saving a lot of bandwidth. So once again, with the code is in the image, you have to put in the normal source like you would put in an image, and in the style you would have to put the mask and the URL for it, and of course you have to use single quotes because you already use double quotes for the style, so you can't use double quotes like I've used here. And then these 4 numbers which form the actual the positioning and the tiling of the image. You can toy with these to see how they work, but if you're using just 0, 0, 0, 0, they will both be the same size.